Welcome back into our Top Buffs Countdown. Tyler, we're getting closer and closer, and this is a group that I really like. At number 18 is George "The Train" Frazier, and I know you're a huge fan, so I'm going to let you lead this one off.
Yeah, George Frazier is definitely my favorite player on the team, so it's awesome to see other people think so highly of him as well. He's a guy to me that when he's on the field, he always makes a huge play, it seems like. He reminds me a lot of Lawrence Vickers, which is super high praise for anybody who grew up watching Lawrence Vickers at CU. To me, he's a multiple fullback, so he's really lethal in the passing game, but he's just super physical in the run game as well. Just a huge body. Makes a lot of people look really tiny out there. Just a menacing guy. It seems like he's been here forever, but that's not the case at all. I mean, he's still got a few years left in the program for us, so I'm super excited to watch him play. He's just a guy that gets me pumped up every single time out there, whether it's a big block or a big catch. He's always doing something that gets me excited.
Yeah, he came in as a linebacker, and it's crazy. A year ago, if you had told me a year from now that George Frazier is going to be in the top 20, I wouldn't have believed you, but he really did have an impact in those short yard situations last year, and he's a guy, I don't know if they keep this stat, but you talk about touchdowns per touches ratio. This guy's going to have a really impressive touchdowns to touches ratio, even if you look back to last year, and I think that's going to continue because he's a guy that they are going to feel comfortable and want to get the ball in the red zone, in the goal line. And you mentioned his versatility, a guy that he can use as an H-back, a tight end, just really, really well-rounded physical guy that I know the coaches are really high on. And you saw as soon as George Frazier started making an impact, all of a sudden their short yardage offense was worlds better last season.
Yep.
And number 17 is Jimmy Gilbert, somebody that we talked about on Buff Stampede Radio, probably has the most to gain from this new defensive scheme they have.
Yeah, he's a guy that I really liked last year as a specialist, as a pass rush specialist. He's very quick off the edge. He doesn't look like a football player still, even though he has gained good weight over the course of the last year. He's still very lanky. But he's a guy now that in a stand-up linebacker position is going to be able to shed off blocks a little bit easier because he's going to get that running start. To me, I think he has a chance to have a really big year. He's going to, he's just one of those guys that we haven't had in a while, and just a true pass specialist. I think he's a guy that you could consider that might have at the end of his career double-digit sacks in a season in this 3-4 defense, depending on how he translates, and that's something we haven't had in a long time. So I'm really excited to see how comfortable he is in the defense this year.
Yeah, it has been nearly 10 years since Abraham Wright left that you mentioned the double-digit sack number. Do you expect that to happen? I see Jimmy Gilbert's potential, but I'm almost kind of in a I'll believe it when I see it mode almost.
I don't think it's going to happen this year, but I think by the time he's done here, he might have a chance to do that. He's a guy that I can even consider it, which we haven't even had that in the last 5 or 6 years, right? I mean, we've had guys that we kind of were just about as average as could be, and I think he has a chance if he can get a little bit bigger and if he really adjusts and fits comfortably into that 3-4 defense. I think there's an outside chance that he could get to 10. He wouldn't be my number one choice, but I think he's definitely, the potential is there.
It's unfortunate that when he came in, they didn't have more depth on the D-line because you'd much rather have Jimmy Gilbert be a redshirt sophomore right now. Unfortunately, He's going to be a true junior, and I don't think he's shown enough. I don't think you can pull him off the field to redshirt him at this point. So he's a guy I think that's going to move through this program pretty quickly, and we're going to go, gosh, if they could have had him for another year, he could have had a really special redshirt senior year. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, but I think he's going to do a lot these next 2 years. And number 16 is my guy, Phillip Lindsay, somebody that runs with more relentlessness than any back I've seen come through here. Unfortunately, that relentlessness sometimes gets him in trouble, and it's kind of, I think, now finding that balance between, okay, there's certain times you need to get down, otherwise you might fumble the football.
Yeah, but he's a guy to me that runs so hard. Those are turnovers you can live with, if there's such a thing, right? I mean, he's a guy that turns the ball over because he's trying to do everything he can to get that first down and get those few extra yards. And I can respect that. The silly mistakes, those are the ones that really frustrate you. But to me, he's a guy that runs so hard, especially given his frame. Seems like he stays healthy no matter what. He's a guy that, I mean, I don't know how you could not love watching him play. He's a tremendous talent, guy that he works so hard. It's great to see him be successful in this offense, in this program. I'm really happy for him, and I just hope he continues to get better. He deserves it.
I don't think fans are going to believe me based off what he did last year because he didn't get in the end zone, but I think eventually when he starts losing some of the anxiousness, he will end up being a pretty good short yardage back for them, I think, but we haven't quite seen that yet. And as a kickoff returner, he was really close to breaking a few last year.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I saw Phil Steele came out with his Pac-12 first team, second team. He does 4 teams, which is a little insane, but he had Phillip Lindsay on second team kick return this year, which is pretty high praise. I mean, Phil Steele is a guy who obviously does a lot of research and knows his stuff, so if that turns into fruition, he's going to have a lot of big returns for us this year.
All right, that's it for this group. Signing off from beautiful Boulder.